All right. Let's get started. We got about 80, it looks like, on the line. It's wonderful to see everybody. I'm Keith Coker, one of the medical directors for Medic. Welcome to the February meeting. Obviously, this is virtual. We're gonna have a great session. We'll walk through some of the housekeeping and get into the agenda. And just one note, so Michelle Nightpaver, of course, the co-director, had a death in the family, so she's not able to make it this time, and we're just filling in without her. If you're wondering where she might be. So a couple housekeeping notes here, like I said. First, some disclosures just to be aware of. And then note, like always, that there may be moments that we're sharing some more sensitive information. I think this more pertains to some of the breakout sessions, but please don't take any screenshots when we're doing that. And then, some notes about Zoom. It'd be really great if some of you are willing to turn video on. Just makes for a better experience at times. And definitely, want to make it interactive when possible. So please raise your hand, ask questions, use the chat function. But if you're not speaking, please stay on mute just so we can control the background noise. In addition, just so we know who's on the line, if you can make sure your name is listed, especially if you're calling in by phone, and add your site, and that way that can also help us when we're having some conversations. Unfortunately, we can't do CME this time. Certainly this is something that we ordinarily would want to do. The CME system, approval system at Michigan changed and became a little bit more of an administrative burden. I don't think it's the end of the world, and we'll certainly offer CME for all the next meetings. This is a shorter meeting anyway, but just note about that. Okay, so let me walk through the agenda. The first half an hour or so will be focused on some announcements, resetting on our performance. We get to note some awards. We'll talk about that. And then wrap that up with some notes on programming additions that we're going to be embarking on. And then we'll take a break. And then the second half of the meeting will actually be in breakout sessions. One focused on the pulmonary embolism and all things related to diagnostic yield, a reboot of that work. And that will be for most people, but we recognize that the pediatric centers don't spend a lot of time on this initiative. So we created a separate focused breakout session on the pediatric centers, DeVos, Children's of Detroit, and Michigan Medicine Children's. So that'll be a more limited group, in particular because they're going to share some of their own site level information. So we'll limit who can be in that breakout session. But just keep that in mind to the moment when we make those decisions at the break time. We'll talk a little bit about how that works, and then we'll wrap up. Okay, so some announcements. First, some really cool news. We are officially in the Upper Peninsula. So OSF St. Francis is a hospital in Escanaba, and I hope they're on the line. Welcome to the club. It's really cool to be up north in that way now. A few notes about some academic work that's been published in the last couple months since our last club-wide meeting. One is analysis that's really using the Medic registry data to highlight the pressures that we experienced in 2022 around the surge in pediatric respiratory illness. If you recall that time, we were really broadly in crisis mode. We had town halls, and I think this is really important way to highlight how important emergency departments are for the care of children. So that came out last year, end of last year. And then this one's in press. This is Michelle Nypaver, and if y'all know Kelly Lavasser at Children's, she was a former clinical champion. So they're part of a group that put together some recommendations around pediatric emergency care, choosing wisely. And as you can imagine, a lot of medics work relates to this, and that chest X-ray measure that we're focused on is one of those top 5 opportunities. So it's probably a worth piece to look at, just to understand where people think the quality opportunities are in pediatric emergency care. And that's in press coming out later in print. And sir, on that topic, this is definitely coming up to spring national meeting season. So if you have abstracts in the works related to medic, please let us know. We want to highlight your work. It also helps us track and describe our impact. We're also here to help with any of that. If you have, data needs, if you have some needs around sort of posters, we have templates you can download off our website. You can see here. And then one other note about this, if you are using registry data, we do have to have a statement about Blue Cross's involvement. And so there's the official text there that you can find on our website when you're communicating any of this work. But it's really wonderful for us to hear about it. So if you do have posters, abstracts, please tell us. This is another way, to show your work. And I think so much of what y'all do in your own shops could be candidates for this. This is the ASAP QI challenge. And I know about this in particular because I was chair of the ASAP Quality and Patient Safety Committee that sponsors this award. And it's really meant to highlight local quality improvement work in emergency departments. You can see there's 3 categories here in the top. The application's really not that onerous. Again, we can help with that if you need data, for example. So certainly consider it. And it'd be great to spotlight some of what you all are doing every day. And all in the same kind of umbrella, there are obviously dates for fall meetings coming up. So if you're interested in abstracts submissions, let us know about how we can help with any of that too. Okay, so I'm going to hand things over to Andy, and he'll walk through a few things. Andy, you're up.
Okay, thanks. So my part here is just to kind of go through the collaborative's performance for the 2023 year, which wrapped up at the end of 2023, obviously. So this is our kind of global high-level dashboard that we show every meeting. There's a lot of nuance to this because sites come and go, targets go up, targets go down. So the trends are maybe not all that useful, but we find value in just kind of showing where we've been with all of our initiatives over time. And I think the exciting part of this data is when you compare 2022 to 2023, all but one of our initiatives are continuing to improve, the ones in green. And there was not a lot of change in membership between 22 and 23, so those are probably pretty real apples to apples comparisons there. The one in red is the pulmonary embolism initiative, which we will spend a good chunk of time talking about later on, so I won't go into that at this point. Kind of the big thing I want to highlight is the really just giant success that we had in our All In for Kids campaign that we did in 2023. So if you remember back to the meeting up in Traverse City at the end of 22, we announced that we were going to put a lot of our points in the P4P and the 2 pediatric measures for 2023, and we really nailed both of those. It's exciting to see how well we did. I'll go through the data, but it's a risk to put that many points of the P4P on a collaborative wide measure where you're not totally in control as your own site, and it's really exciting for us who want to see collaboration and see us rise together to see us really nail these 2 measures. So In the data, we did the chest X-ray utilization for kids, set the target at less than or equal to 37%, nailed it the entire time, like never even came close in a single month to being near that. So came in 11% below the target, which is awesome. A real like significant reduction in chest X-rays across the state for that year. Similar story for the pediatric minor head injury, intermediate risk utilization, set the target at 25, came in at 17.9, didn't have a single month where we were above the target. So really like truly the kind of the whole point of why we're doing this, everyone working together to meet these targets. So really exciting stuff. So just to kind of, this is a look we do every year, just how P4P scores fell across the collaborative. So in 2022, we had a range of 74 as the lowest up to 100, with the average score for a medic site being 94. Really good scores, very high. Looking at 23, even better. And this really is kind of a reflection of what I said earlier, is that it was a high risk move to put so many points on these two collaborative wide measures. But when we, as a group, met those targets, everyone got a lot of points. And, I was also really excited to see that almost nobody lost any of the participation points, which, to us really shows your level of commitment and engagement. Everyone did great on the staff reviews with Carrie and Patty. All the data was submitted. You came to the meetings, and we always want to show our appreciation for that, and it's reflected in the scores as well. So thank you, and good job to everyone on that for sure. Moving on to VBR, I feel like I give these slides a lot, and it's a lot of letters, a lot of words, but as a reminder, the VBR is the physician fee schedule increase that you can all potentially earn. There are 3 different categories of that. The first one was our 3% collaborative-wide VBR. So for that one, we did the 2 head injury initiatives, adult and peds. Again, really kind of killed the targets, not even close, met them easily. So all eligible physicians that meet all the eligibility requirements will qualify for a 3% fee schedule increase on their Blue Cross commercial PPO claims from March 1st, which is next week, I guess, through February of 2025. So great work on that. And then just, again, looking at the data, just kind of very evenly and smoothly met both targets for adult and peds head injury. The second VBR bucket was this 2% individual physician VBR. So this is the one that Katie and I were kind of pestering you, harassing you with emails over the course of the year, where all of your physicians that wanted to participate needed to create a Medic Tableau account, log in, do a performance survey, and then meet one of the actual performance targets. So in 2022, we had 320 physicians at 27 sites with a very high success rate. And then in 2023, 500, almost 600 physicians at 36 sites participated, and again, almost 500 met the target. So again, just super successful. Really exciting to me that almost 600 emergency medicine physicians in the state of Michigan had at least looked at their performance on our measures once. We would love that they did it more, but they did it at least once to meet this VBR. So this one, 2% increase for this one. And then the last one is our smoking cessation VBR that we are partnering with the Healthy Behaviors of Michigan CQI on. In 2022, this was a participation only initiative. So if you sent your data, set up some sort of system to offer counseling to COPD patients who are active smokers, you got credit. In 2023, you had to actually meet a performance target, and we were excited to see that at 15 sites, at 264 docs, we met this too. So, given the initial reaction we got of this not really being an ED problem, it was exciting to see, so many sites dive in and be successful, and several hundred patients across Michigan got smoking cessation counseling in our EDs through this project. So we're very excited about that. So long story short, P4P VBR really kind of crushed all the targets, did really well. I never even had to check and worry about any of the collaborative wide stuff. We were doing great. So congratulations and good job. Back over to Keith then.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. And I get to do something in the same theme of success as Andy was just describing, which is something that we started last year and certainly hope to continue, which is really to call out, high performers across our collaborative. It's really, I think, meaningful to me personally to be able to sort of recognize these individuals and sites for their great work. Um, just a little bit of a note on methodology. I mean, we definitely have to think about sample size here, and need to sort of cut a line around having accumulated enough cases to qualify. So we set that at a 25th percentile on the adult side and a 10th percentile on the children's side. We call out individual high performers for each of our quality initiatives. And then on the site level side, both top performers and most improved. And we will, like we did last year, follow this up with an official letter of recognition to the individuals and the sites ceasing leadership, just to be sure that they get their own local recognition too. So let me walk through these awards. So first, some of the adult measures. These are individual awards. On the left side, we have the diagnostic yield for pulmonary embolism measure, and on the right side, the CT appropriateness for adult minor head injury. And we did decide to call out in bold those individuals who are more connected to the boarding center and medics. So many of these are clinical champions. And I mean, the performance is just like amazing to me, as I see this, particularly around that diagnostic yield. And, just because it's been a focus of my attention as we were preparing for this meeting. But certainly the head injury performance is amazing as well. Awesome to see. These are now pediatric measures. I didn't mention this before, but we have separated out community, what we call sometimes mixed sites, from the pediatric centers, just because those experiences can be kind of different. So on the left side, we have the community hospitals, again in bold, calling out folks that are more connected to us. And on the right side are the pediatric center individual wards. We're talking about like no CT imaging for minor head injuries for that intermediate risk population for the most part, which is amazing to see. Great work. Similarly, this is for the chest X-ray respiratory illness measure. On the left side, you see the community or mixed sites. On the right side, the pediatric centers. I did make the list, which is cool to see. But amazing work here all around. And then we didn't present these last time because they weren't available. So now we have the new quality initiative around naloxone offer rate, which is a new P4P group measure on the left, and then that smoking cessation counseling that Annie was talking about as part of VBR, and that's just a voluntary quality initiative. But again, something that we want to call out simultaneously. So, great work there too. And a lot of great people on this list. All right, let me switch to the site level awards. So this is the overall performers by quality initiative. These are basically, sites that are setting the curve on these performances. And you can see why. I mean, when you look at these numbers, at least for me, since they're kind of so in my mind about where our performance is. So a number of Corewell Health sites, Zealand, Blodgett, Lakeland, Pennock, Butterworth, and then UMHS West, and then finally Henry Ford Wyandotte. Amazing performance here as we think about where we are as a group. And then finally, these are the site level awards for most improved. We don't have the naloxone or the smoking cessation because there's two relatively new measures still. But you can see the improvement that you're witnessing across these measures. Another Corewell Health site, Ludington, UMHS West, and then Henry Ford Detroit. Muskegon, Trinity Health on 2 measures, and then Trinity Health Livingston on the last measure. So awesome work. Again, we'll get out official letters of recognition in the next couple months for all this. We have a pause here. I don't know if there are any questions that people had. I see one chat from Lee. Certainly, I like that comment, and we can figure out how we can amplify this in addition to what we're doing here in the collaborative meeting. And like Megan said, certainly these slides are going to be made available. Very cool. I like it. Yeah, for sure. All right. I think I'm going to pass things over to Katie for the next couple slides. So I think you're up, Katie.
I think it's actually me.
Oh, sorry,
and then
Megan.
it'll be Katie. That's okay. No problem. So switching gears a little bit, I am very excited to kick off this section on new partnerships and projects that Medic is embarking on moving forward. So first, acknowledging that there are folks from MDHHS on the line who have been working with us on getting this project up and going. So I will preface what I say with they are certainly the experts, and there is a lot of great information available through the MDHHS website, along with other detailed data and that sort of thing. So I am showing you a small snippet of information to just give you a taste about where we're going with this and the project and how it came about. We will definitely go into more detail, but at a high level, we were approached in September of last year by the Bureau of HIV and STI programs, along with the chief medical executive for the state, with interest in partnering with us on HIV screening and STI screening in the emergency department. There's some programs and funding through the CDC, and then MDHHS team was able to get a grant to work on this. They have a very robust system of wraparound services across the state for folks with HIV and STIs, but the emergency department has been identified as a significant blind spot in their work. And so the goal of this project is aimed at the space that we work in, frankly, which is why they approached us. Setting the stage a little bit, just to give, again, a very small snippet of the lot of information that's available out there. So I encourage you to dive into it. But this may or may not be something that you think about very often in your regular practice. So wanted to provide a little bit of the epidemiologic background on some of these numbers. We have sites in many, if not almost all of these counties across Michigan. This is the current prevalence rate for HIV specifically. That's a great question, Deb, and I will refer back to the excellent slides that MDHHS has to provide you with that information. But notably, so Detroit has its own health department, one of 2 cities in Michigan that has its own health department. So it is separate apart from Wayne County, but you may or may not see your county on here. You probably do, giving us a little bit of context here for why this is important. Similarly, so apart from prevalence, we have a couple of counties within the state where there is new incidence and an increase in new diagnoses, specifically outside of the Metro Detroit area. So that includes Allegan and Ottawa counties, as well as Grand Traverse. Again, you can see more specifics in the slides, but I think it's all goes to show why this is a concern and why it's something that we are potentially looking into partnering here, or will be partnering with MDHHS on. Wanted to also specifically call out this concept because I think it's really important to why the emergency department and where we're going with. We have some sites within Medic who are already working hard at this screening within the emergency department and making sure that that connection from the emergency department to those wraparound services is very tight. And specifically within the Detroit area, you can see that more people are likely to be diagnosed in the emergency room compared to any of the other areas within the state. So there's a few different reasons, I'm sure, lots of things that go into that, but we do have at least a couple sites who are working on that screening within the emergency department. So post-pandemic, it is the rate of people who are being diagnosed at the health department has gone down. And notably, we know a lot of folks will end up in the emergency department, therefore making it an important place to be able to identify folks who need this care. So what's our role? Our role is not to solve this problem. We are not going to solve HIV rates completely within Michigan. That's not necessarily the role of the emergency department, but we are a key linchpin point in the ability to identify these folks and connect them with this great swath of resources that exists in every county throughout the state to be able to get the care that they need. Like I said, we have some sites that have already done excellent work in this and will, I think, serve as great models for us and for other sites who are interested in working towards this. This will be work outside of our standard quality initiatives. So we think that it lends itself very well to how we engage in our quality improvement work and the great success that we've demonstrated, you've all demonstrated with that over time. And so we think that this is a fantastic partnership. And what are we going to do? So we will be starting out by requesting participants. So we're going, if this is something that you think is of value or interest to your emergency department, your health system, please email me. We definitely want to start with the folks who already see that advantage, but we will be reaching out to a few sites to start getting that engagement rolling. So that was a very fast, high-level overview. I know our executive committee members got a quick preview of this before, but we will be more to come on this. And if you have additional questions, please follow up with some emails.
Okay, I think it's my turn. I'll try to be brief here as well, but also have some exciting stuff to go over. So this probably sounds familiar to most of you. I think we mentioned it at a couple of our collaborative wide meetings last year, but we are super excited to move forward with our pediatric readiness pilot project. We applied for some additional funding through the CQIO, and we were approved for that recently, which is, again, very, very exciting. We had some letters of support from the EMSC coordinator at MDHHS, so a couple partnerships with them, which is really exciting. Also from the program director at MTQIP, which is the trauma surgery CQI. And kind of our goal for this year one pilot project is to engage with the EMSC folks and 2 to 4, preferably 4 of our medic sites to design and create this pilot program for really increasing and improving pediatric readiness at those sites. Working on QI interventions, looking at different process and outcome measures, and then I think separate or different than the HIV program, the goal is to kind of absorb this into our regular medic work moving forward. It is separate this year, but the goal is to kind of stepwise include that in our work moving forward, which again is very, very exciting. You know, when we think about why pediatric readiness, research has shown that, you know, the higher or the better that sites do on this pediatric readiness survey, particularly having a score of greater than 87 points, significant improvements in mortality and morbidity in children, which leads to saved lives, which is a large part of why we all do what we do. And we're excited to kind of be a part of that. If you look on the right-hand side, you can see the mean and median scores of the Michigan sites in 2021. And there's definitely a gap there between those scores and that 87% or percent threshold. So that's really going to be what we're focusing on. And again, I think we've talked to sites kind of here and there, but now that we're ready to go, if this is something that resonates with you, something that you want to think about for a couple of your sites, email me, email Megan, and we can definitely get rolling with that. We're kind of hoping to hit the ground running with this one since we've only got the year to really get this pilot going. Related to both of these things, we are hiring. We're hiring an administrative project coordinator. It is a 2-year term limited role specifically for the HIV and pediatric readiness work. The application is live on the U of M career website. It does close on Tuesday. We're towards the tail end of our job posting. So if you know of anybody who's interested, please share with them sooner rather than later. Reach out to one of us, let us know. We are excited to have a new person join our team. I think we're a fun group, so it could be fun for somebody. Transitioning a little bit away from that into our normal medic work. We have also mentioned this at a few of our meetings recently, executive committee, clinical champions, maybe the abstractor calls, but we are working hard on a new pediatric asthma bundle. You know, previously we've looked at discharge rate for children with asthma. Currently, we're working specifically on time to steroids as our process measure. And we're looking to transition to more of a bundle approach, similar to what you guys are probably familiar with sepsis. So we're going to be looking at steroids within 60 minutes like we do now, but also bronchodilators, assessments using those clinical severity assessment tools. So thank you all for responding to our messages recently about what you're doing. I think that helped us kind of get a sense of what's currently happening and kind of where we have some opportunity to improve amongst our sites. And then probably some discharge teaching as well, potentially related to spacers or discharge medications. The details are still being worked out. The other thing I want to point out here is that this is not going to be an all or nothing bundle. The great thing about this is we're going to have an opportunity to provide a lot of partial points for sites who don't think that they can meet the entire bundle, 100% compliance, et cetera. A lot of that will be worked out with the executive committee come this summer. So more to come. Specifically for our abstractors, there will be an update to our pediatric respiratory sampled module. We've been working on that as well. The goal is to streamline that a little bit so that we actually hopefully don't have to sample for the majority of our sites. We probably will have to sample for 1 or 2 just because of high asthma volumes. But there will be some changes to come, hopefully exciting and good changes. And I'm going to give the remote back to Keith.
Thanks, Katie. Just a couple of other programming notes, and then we'll get into our break. I think we've brought this up before, but just want to remind people as well about work that we're doing on health equity and disparities. There's a cousin program called M-Shield within the CQI families that is really focused on improving and closing the gaps around these disparities in care, and has really encouraged, you know, all the CQIs and obviously ours to think about like how we can begin to build out the infrastructure that allows us to identify and close these kind of gaps. The challenge for us and a lot of us, to be honest, not just medic, is, you know, what is the quality, the underlying data around race and ethnicity that we collect, or, you know, things too like gender, though we're really focused in the beginning on race and ethnicity. We definitely have some advantages in medic because of the way that we collect our data via these electronic data feeds. But it also means that we have to rely on what actually is existing in the electronic health record systems of all of our hospitals. And then it's a problem too about then how do you begin to aggregate you know, race and ethnicity into the right kinds of groupings to begin to build out measurement that allows you to pinpoint potential disparities in our quality measurement. The bottom line is we've built a dashboard. We think it's in pretty good shape. Right now, it's an internal coordinating center dashboard. But I think our future is to begin to roll a version of that out that begins to tie into our quality measures. And to be honest, there is this longer term vision within the Blue Cross CQIs to begin to tie some of our pay for performance measures to health disparities. And there's some work around that going on right now to sort out what exactly that looks like. Certainly happy to take questions or comments about that along the way. The other thing is episodes of care. I won't spend a lot of time on this because we've covered this ground in the last collaborative meeting. We talked about it extensively in the last clinical champion call. The point is that we're continuing to build out these reporting mechanisms. I know some of y'all at your sites have interest here in this. Please stay in touch with us about that too, because we really want to leverage the reporting capabilities that we've developed here in new and important ways with all of our partners. And then I think this is the final slide. Just a reminder, the focus today is really on pulmonary embolism and pediatric center work, but don't forget about naloxone. This is the first pay for performance year with naloxone as part of the measurement, and it's a group measure, so we're all in this together. Our target is to get above a 41% offer rate, and just bear in mind sort of what the measured target population is here. So anybody coming in post overdose, in opioid withdrawal, or seeking treatment for opiate use disorder. That's how we identify and measure the population for the quality initiative. That being said, that doesn't preclude you from, of course, offering naloxone to any other patient that you see at risk for future overdose. So I don't want that to be a restriction on who you're also offering naloxone to, but also bear in mind, the population that we are measuring as part of this effort as well.